Hi everyone, it's Christelle from Permacrafters, and today we're going to be talking about the wild edible purple dead nettle and how to make a tofu scramble from this plant. So purple dead nettle goes by the Latin name Lamium purpureum, and it's an edible that is native to Eurasia, and it's also very common in the United States and in Canada. This flowering plant is in the mint family or the sage family called the Lamiaceae family. Before we get into the defining characteristics of this plant, I want to say that you should always be 100% certain of your plant identification. Lookalikes will differ depending on where you live in the world, so it's really important to familiarize yourself with lookalikes. So do not consider this your full guide to foraging dead nettle. There are other considerations to take into account too, like contaminated areas, contaminated by dog pee or pesticides or pollution runoff. Okay, so the leaves on the purple dead nettle are opposite decussate, meaning they're opposite and arranged with each succeeding pair at right angles to the pairs below and above them. This of course helps them to capture the sun since they grow straight up. So the leaves have hairs on them and they're quite soft to the touch. The leaves also have petioles and are heart-shaped to triangular shaped with a rounded tip and with rounded teeth. They're green, but towards the top of the plant they can have a reddish tint to them, and in fact these leaves are really close together towards the top of the stem, which is something to remember to differentiate it from lookalikes. So the stem is square and the flower goes as tall as 40 centimeters. And the flowers are two-lipped and they're in bloom from March through September. And once it's pollinated, 4 dried fruits are noticeable at the bottom of the calyx. So it is possible to confuse this plant with lookalikes. Depending on where you live in the world, lookalikes will vary, so make sure to learn about your local lookalikes. One lookalike is Ballota nigra, or black horehound. Unlike the dead nettle, this plant does not have purplish tint on the top leaves. Its flowers and leaves are more regularly spread along the stem, and it gets up to 30 to 85 centimeters before flowering. It's also quite nasty if you taste it. Otherwise, there's henbit, which looks similar, but if you look closely, you'll notice the leaf structures are different. In any case, this one's edible. And then there's ground ivy, which has some notable differences. It smells like mint if you crush it up, and the leaves are heart-shaped, and the leaves are regularly spread out along the stem, and they are not soft. And then there's some that look alike before they bloom, so another good reason to wait until the flowers are in bloom. So there's Veronica persica, which has a round stem and alternate leaves, Viola odorata, garlic mustard or Eurasia petiolata, flowering plants in the Geraniaceae family, and also Mihania cordata. So purple dead nettles are edible plants. It's best to stick to eating the heads of these plants. Eat the leaves and flowers just when the flowers are beginning to bloom. If you eat them later on, the calyx, which holds on to the flowers, gets tougher and the leaves get hairier. You can consume the leaves before the flowers bloom, but in that case you should be familiar with the plant first to not confuse it with a lookalike. So eat the heads of the plant, not the entire plant. It gives off a mushroom-like taste, and make sure to check the plant for ants and powdery mildew. Ants actually help disperse the seeds of the plant, and as for powdery mildew, it's a fungal disease that leaves white specks on the leaves, so don't consume that. So if you eat the younger leaves at the top, it's unlikely that the powdery mildew will have reached them yet. Purple dead nettle can be consumed raw or cooked. If you're eating it later in the season, they do great in pestos or in soups. Otherwise, you can prepare the leaves raw as an addition to salad greens or cooked up in quiches or omelets. Since it's said that purple nettle tastes delicious in omelets, we decided to do a plant-based version, so we're doing a dead nettle tofu scramble.